Welcome to Talking Threads. My name is Kathleen Janska-Privnik. I will be your host. In today's episode, we're going to discuss complex weaving or computer interfaced weaving. And for this topic, we're going to be introducing our guest, Jannie Taylor. She's flown up from California, and I'm delighted to introduce her as our instructor. Welcome, Jannie.
Thanks, Kate. I'm really glad to be here. This is very exciting for me.
Would you mind discussing a little bit about how you got into weaving?
Not at all. No, I got into weaving in the mid-'70s when just about everybody on earth was getting into weaving. I happened to have a co-worker who was a weaver, and it seemed really interesting to me, and I started out by wanting to have some hand-spun yarn, so I actually started out spinning. And so once I had been spinning for quite a while, I realized I had a lot of yarn, and I wasn't that good of a knitter. So I thought, weaving is going to be the thing. So I happened to be lucky enough to get a loom given to me. So I took that loom home and used some of my hand-spun yarn and got hooked right away. I knew weaving was something I wanted to do. I had friends that were weaving, and as the two of us got more involved in weaving, more people at work got involved too. And so it just blossomed. And as we were bringing things in that we'd woven and sharing with each other, everyone got excited about it. And so it just took off. It just took off. So I did a lot of weaving. I ended up with a couple of more free looms before I actually
Nice.
before I was able to actually buy a loom of my own, and started out with 4 shafts, as many weavers do, and especially then. We see weavers starting out with more these days, but at that point 4 shafts was pretty much what you were weaving with. And I got the Marguerite Davidson book of 4-shaft weaves that has hundreds of 4-shaft weaves, and thought I was in heaven, and that this would be, my weaving career for the rest of my life. Little did I know that at this point in my life I'd be weaving on a much more complex computer interface loom. But at that point I had no idea. I just thought that this was great. I was weaving textiles. I was making clothing. I had friends to share this with, and it was really wonderful. So it was great.
But I also picked up on the fact that you were hooking other co-workers into joining you.
Oh yes, there's something about weaving. It's contagious. It must be it's sort of a virus.
It's in the water or the coffee.
If you get several weavers in a group, you're sure to infect a few other people, because we're always really pretty enthusiastic about weaving. We have beautiful things to show. We're wearing something nice, and people get excited about that. So it's not too hard to get other people interested in it. So yes, I've hooked my share of of people into weaving, and convinced people that this is where they need to be.
Well, now you've actually made a career out of weaving as well. I know from personal experience that you're a weaving instructor, because I've taken a couple of your workshops. Would you mind discussing that a bit?
No. I had been doing a lot of weaving for myself, and had quite a bit of experience weaving. And there's a particular kind of weaving called shadow weave, a particular kind of structure. And I'd done a lot of that, and people asked me to share that information. And so I love teaching. The two things that I love doing are weaving and teaching, and that I could put that together into one kind of retirement career, and a part-time at that. This was perfect. So I put together a little workshop on shadow weave, and pulled out all my samples. I gave my first shadow weave workshop to my own guild members. They're very nice. They were very kind, and I was able to troubleshoot through that first workshop. And then I was able to take it on the road. It turned out really well. I've taught shadow weave in many places around the state, in California and up into Oregon and Washington. So it's been really successful for me. So at that point, I was not only hooked on weaving, but I was hooked on teaching weaving, because just that the ability to share what you know with other weavers was a powerful thing for me. So you know, you just can't teach one workshop. People want you to come back, and so you have to have another workshop. So I started adding workshops, and now I have a whole range of workshops that I teach. I added a lace weave workshop on loom-controlled lace weave, and then I've added some computer designing based workshops, and so that worked really well for me.
Well, I've taken both the shadow weave workshop and the lace weaves, and I know that they're excellent.
Thank you.
I also like the way you conduct the classes. You have them in sort of a round robin fashion, and then when we're done, we get these notebooks. Would you discuss that a little bit?
Well, I teach the way I like to have a workshop. So when I leave a workshop, I like to have a reference work that helps me do that. You're in a workshop for a couple of days, and you can learn a lot in a couple of days, but you know, a couple of months later, it's pretty hard to remember all that. So to have that reference that you can refer back to me is really useful. So because I like it, that's what I provide for my students. So I've designed a workbook that you can open up 6 months later and go back and actually do whatever it was we were doing in the workshop. So, and students have liked that and given me good feedback about it. So I've incorporated that into virtually all of my workshops now, and it's been very successful.
And then all the samples that you weave.
Exactly, exactly. Every person in the class, in most of the workshops, people will bring their loom threaded to a certain design that I provide for them, and so they bring their loom, but everybody weaves on everyone's loom, and then at the end we cut the samples off and everybody gets to put their sample of all of the weaves into their notebook. So by just threading one loom, and you get a whole array of samples, and you get a complete workbook with actual fabric samples.
And that's great. And then you protect them in the plastic sleeves. So anyway, I've enjoyed that. The other thing that I wanted to find out from you, if you didn't mind discussing that, is your guild involvement.
Oh, I love my guild. I just think that's the best thing ever. Going back to getting started, when I first got started, we were all working, and of course the guild met on a Thursday morning when we were all working. So we decided we wanted to be part of the guild, so we went to the guild and convinced them that if we were willing to do all the work, that we could start a Saturday branch of the guild. So
okay.
They were a little reluctant because, you know, they always met on Thursday morning, but since we were willing to do the work and we were so enthusiastic, they allowed us to be under their umbrella and that we would have the Saturday guild. And for a long time, they were the guild and those Saturday people. But now, actually, most of us Saturday people have retired, and now we are the guild, and we're all one big kind of homogenous group. We have joint meetings, and it's all worked out. It's all worked out. So I would not be without my guild. I find support. I find we have workshops. We have a library. There's just so many resources. If there's any possibility, if you're getting into weaving, if there is a guild within 100 miles, join it.
Yeah.
And if there's more than one, join all of them. So.
Oh, well,
Yeah, as
we have more than one guild. We
Yes.
have Olympia, we have Arachne, we have Tacoma, we have Seattle, we have Moon Spinners. I'm in a few.
Yes, I can imagine.
How many are you in?
Well, I have only the opportunity of being in one guild. We have one guild in our whole county. It's a rural county. It's not an urban setting that you have here. We are, and we serve a range from probably 60 miles south of us to probably 45 miles north of us, and then all the way to the coast and out to the more central valley of California. So we serve a huge area, but this is the only guild. The closest guild to us to the south is Santa Barbara, and that's about 120 miles. So we're pretty much by ourselves, but we're self-sufficient. We do a lot. It's a very active guild.
Okay. Now, I know that you started out with 4-shaft weaving.
Oh, yes.
Very quickly, you got into 8-shaft weaving.
Actually, I wove.
When?
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Actually, I actually wove on 4 shafts for quite a few years and was very content with it. Did overshot, did all those things that people do on 4 shafts, and was pretty content with that. Then a really good friend of mine wanted to. She was getting older. She was in her late 80s. Weavers live forever, so. But in her late 80s, she decided that probably a floor loom was a little too much for her, and she was moving it on. And so I bought an 8-shaft loom. And I was a little overwhelmed. Like, okay, 8 shafts. What am I going to do with this? So, as usual, you know, I referred to my friends. I talked to other people, took workshops, did what was needed, and really got into the 8-shaft weaving. And again, I thought I was going to be content with that forever, that this could be my last loom.
Well, I'm going to tell secrets here. She did not stop at 4. She did not stop at 8. She didn't stop at 16. She's gone on and gotten 24. And now you teach at AVL and you have access to 40 shafts. I want to hear about this, please.
Oh, sure. I am definitely... I feel very lucky to be able to teach at the AVL Weaving School. AVL is a loom builder in Northern California, and they build fairly technical looms. 24 shaft, 16 shaft. They also build 8-shaft looms. They build a whole range of looms. And they even build jacquard looms, which is even a whole nother world. Oh. We're probably not going to go there.
Well, at least not this year.
I actually have had the opportunity to weave on a jacquard loom, and it's pretty exciting. I don't actually work for AVL on a day-to-day basis. I live about 400 miles away. So 2 or 3, maybe 4 times a year, I drive up and spend a week teaching classes up there, and it's absolutely wonderful to be able to teach at the level that I love to weave at, and it's one of the few places in the country where you can actually come, learn to weave, learn to use the software, not learn to weave on 24 shafts, learn to use these looms to their best advantage, learn to design for them. So I feel very lucky to have that opportunity to do that. And I tell them how lucky they are to have me too.
Okay. Well, I know I feel like Pavlov's dog. You've got access to this 40-shaft loom. And now the email that I had gotten from AVL, Bob Kruger,
he's the owner.
Yeah, okay. Was talking about the fact that they have now purchased their own building, and they're moving, and this building has classrooms and air conditioning. So tell me you're not going to be spoiled.
No, this is very sweet, because the school has been being held in a loft up above the assembly floor, and although it's really nice to have the school, it's been somewhat of a stretch, and it's been a little hard to get our stuff up there, and to have a real classroom with looms that are going to be there, and a place where you can keep your yarn clean, and have it. And they're planning to have it set up as a showroom for their looms as well. So it'll be the school and the showroom, and air conditioned. Chico gets a little warm in the summertime. Yes. So now finally we can schedule summer classes. We've had teachers and people who work at have the summers off, students who want to come during the summer, but it gets to be 110, 115 degrees there, and upstairs in a loft, it just wasn't gonna be good. So now we'll be able to hold summer classes and do a little more with that. So I'm real excited about that.
That is wonderful, and like I said, I'm a little envious.
You can come to class anytime.
I want the 40-shaft loom.
Well, the 40-shaft loom. It's really it's so amazing to design for 40 shafts. When I bought my 24, there was this little thought through my brain of, well, should I just go for the 40? I said, no, Jannie, behave yourself. 24 is plenty. 24 is enough for anybody. And actually, I had to get 24 because my best friend Diane was buying a 24-shaft loom, and I certainly couldn't have her have a 24-shaft loom, and I only had a 16. So, there's an upside and a downside to having weaving friends. It can cost you, too.
Yeah, but you keep encouraging each other.
Oh, yes. There's nothing better than having friends that weave. It's the best. It's good.
Get you into more mischief.
Yes.
So now you've sort of gone from 4 to 8 to 16 to 24.
Yes.
And you've started teaching. You've actually now gotten into the teaching circuit. And if I could go ahead and sort of tell tales here.
Oh, go ahead, right ahead.
Well, you were so excited, you were just bouncing off the ceiling.
That's why we're here.
You are now hired to teach in, what is it, Convergence?
I have taught at Convergence twice, and that's the big show in weaving in this country. Every 2 years, they have a big conference that's called Convergence, and I have been lucky enough now to teach there twice, and it's amazing. It's wonderful. I was honored. They get a lot of submissions, and so I felt very, very proud of myself and a little nice little ego boost. It's always good when you get to teach at that level and teach for people that are coming from not only all around the country, but from all around the world. So I've had people from Australia, from England, from Europe in my classes, and it's amazing. It's a wonderful feeling to be able to share that weaving. And because they take that information home with them, and they share it with their guilds, and then it spreads out from there. So you're sort of infecting a whole new crowd.
No, you're enticing them into our craft.
Yeah, exactly. Enticing a whole new craft. Yeah, we don't want to think of this as some kind of a serious virus.
Well, the garment that you've got on is something that you've woven, and then the necklace, that is beadwork.
It is.
So weavers do not just do one thing. We are interested in many topics.
You're absolutely right. It's sort of a defining feature of a weaver is that they don't just weave. I don't think I know any weavers who only weave. They often are spinners. They often are knitters. Beadwork is very common. Bookmaking, paper making, dyeing, basket making. There's just felting. There's a whole range of things. Often textile related, not always. I mean, I know some that are championship archers and cello players and all sorts of interests. There are people that are interested in the world around them. They're interested in the arts, performing arts, visual arts, all sorts of things. And it's a wonderful group to be involved with. But yes, getting back to this garment that I have on, this is actually my first 16 shaft weaving. And so I was very happy with it. I went up to AVL to visit and was able to do some weaving there. So I put on a warp and did a couple of scarves and then realized that actually, I don't wear scarves very much. I'm not much of a scarf wearer. So I took one of the scarves and turned it into a vest, and I've been very happy with it. I love vests, so it's a great thing to weave. And and the beading, this was a beading technique I learned way back, farther back than I'm going to tell you.
Oh, okay, that way.
But the idea of I like to weave fabric